Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into one of the most common, yet kind of mysterious parts in all of electronics. I mean, this thing is in pretty much every circuit board out there, and without it, our modern world, well, it just wouldn't work. So what's the link? The answer is a tiny little component that stores up energy and then, bam, releases it in a really powerful controlled burst. You can think of it like a tiny lightning storm in a can, just ready to go on command. It's called a capacitor, and it's basically a tiny battery that can charge up and release its energy incredibly fast. Now, it can't store a ton of energy like a regular battery, but its superpower is definitely its speed. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around what a capacitor does, let's use a simple analogy. Just for a minute, don't think of it as an electronic thing. Think of it as a tiny water tank. Imagine you've got a water pipe, right? But the flow is all sputtery and inconsistent. A capacitor is kind of like adding a small water tank into that system. It fills up when the supply is strong, and then it releases that stored water during any lulls, creating a perfectly smooth, steady, uninterrupted flow out the other side. And you know what? We can see this exact thing happen in a simple LED circuit. So when the circuit's on, power is flowing from the battery, lighting up the LED, and at the same time charging that capacitor. But watch what happens when we cut the power. Instead of just shutting off instantly, the capacitor steps in and discharges its stored energy, powering the LED all by itself. As that energy gets used up, the LED slowly and smoothly fades out. It's the perfect demo of that water tank effect. That water tank idea is great for what it does, but how does a capacitor actually store that energy? Well, it all comes down to its structure, which is, believe it or not, basically a tiny, powerful sandwich. So a basic capacitor is just two conductive metal plates, the bread, separated by an insulating material called a dielectric. And that filling is the absolute key. It's an insulator, which means electrons can't just take a shortcut and flow straight through from one plate to the other. So how does this little sandwich get charged? Well, when you connect a battery, it acts like an electron pump. It literally pulls electrons away from one plate and shoves them onto the other. This creates an imbalance, right? One plate ends up positively charged, the other is negatively charged. And that separation creates this powerful electric field between the plates. And that field is where the energy is actually stored. So, a charged capacitor has all this built-up tension. You can think of it like a stretched rubber band, just waiting to snap back into place. A discharged capacitor, on the other hand, is totally relaxed and electrically neutral. All its charges are balanced, and there's no energy stored up. Okay, so if you look really closely at a capacitor, you're almost always going to see two key numbers printed right on its side, and these ratings tell you everything you need to know about what it can do. The first number is its capacitance. This tells you how much charge it can hold for a certain amount of voltage. So going back to our analogy, this is basically the size of our water tank. And we measure capacitance in a unit called the farad. Now, here's a fun fact. A single farad is actually a huge amount of capacitance, way more than you'd need for most things. That's why in pretty much all electronics, we measure it in microfarads, which is just 1/1,000,000th of a farad, or even smaller units like nanofarads and picofarads. The second number is its voltage rating, and you really want to pay attention to this one. It's a hard limit. It's the absolute maximum voltage that the capacitor's insulation can handle. If you put more voltage through it than it's rated for, that insulation will break down, and it can fail spectacularly. We're talking a loud pop and a little puff of smoke. So yeah, respect the voltage rating. All right, so capacitors come in all sorts of fun shapes and sizes, and you can almost think of each type as having its own little personality and its own best use case. First up, we've got the electrolytic capacitor. These are the workhorses. They have a really high capacitance, which means they can store a ton of charge. But they're picky. They're polarized, so they have a positive and a negative leg. You see that stripe on the side? That marks the negative side. And you have to connect it the right way, or it can get damaged pretty quick. Then there's the ceramic capacitor. These are like the easygoing friends of the circuit world. They've got lower capacitance, and they are not polarized, so you can hook them up either way you want. They're absolutely fantastic for filtering out high-frequency electrical noise, those tiny, unwanted wiggles in power that can mess with sensitive components. And for those jobs that need extreme precision, you've got your mica or polyfilm capacitors. These guys are super stable. Their value doesn't change even if the temperature goes up or down. That makes them perfect for really sensitive circuits, like in a radio tuner or an oscillator, things that need perfect, steady timing to work correctly.
So now that we know what they are and how they work, where do we actually see these little guys in action every single day?
Oh, their versatility is just incredible. I mean, in your phone charger, they're smoothing out that choppy AC power from the wall into the steady DC your battery needs. In a camera flash, they charge up and then unleash all that energy in an instant for that bright light. In a big ceiling fan, they give it that powerful initial kick to get the motor spinning. They are truly the unsung heroes in the tech we use every single day. You see, they're just a fundamental building block of modern technology. They're these tiny, lightning-fast energy reservoirs. From the smallest gadgets to the biggest industrial machines, their simple principle of storing and releasing energy makes our world possible. It really makes you wonder, right? What other incredible innovations are going to be built on this simple but super powerful idea?